and it's time for the Game Sports Podcast. As your host, David McCaig Jr. The game is powered by 91 Network and also featured on Spaces, which is through Sue Today and Village Media. You can check out 91N on YouTube. The game's video versions are available on there as well as other podcasts. Now, for Spaces, you can check out Spaces and search the space that you want to read, be a part of. But the game is on sports and on the hockey space of Spaces that you can check out. It's from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, but it's also expanded throughout Ontario. So make sure you check that out. And the game you can also see on all audio platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Podbean, wherever. Just give us a search and we're there. Social media, that is Facebook, that is Instagram, TikTok, at the Game Sports Podcast. You can interact, like, follow for your enjoyment as well. Wherever your preferences to enjoy and watch, especially on social media, don't hesitate to give us a follow or interaction, subscribe, whatever the case may be. Now, the Game Sports Podcast is located in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and I sit here wearing a Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario shirt, which was made from God's Country Clothing. A friend of mine, Dave Holmberg, runs that here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Definitely worth a check out, and you can probably see this vintage logo that I have on here, of course. But the Game Sports Podcast has been around for 10 years. It's our 10th year here on the Game Sports Podcast. What a time it has been through 95.1, ESPN 1400 radio, podcast platform since 2016. And we appreciate all the viewers and listeners that have been a part of the journey along the way. And we've had original faces remain here on the game, new faces. You're going to see a new face that I'm introducing in just a few moments here on the game. But we appreciate everybody that has been a part of this journey of the game, and I'm very excited for what the near future brings, but another 10 plus years, of course. Now, we had our return from vacation show, very big mouthful there, but obviously in the summer months, July and August, we had very minimal recordings as we normally do, and last week we had our return, which was obviously titled We Have Kickoff, which was invaded by football content, and like I teased last week, make sure you check that out last week, but like I teased, hockey's going to start trickling its way back in, and that is what we're going to have on this agenda here tonight. We're going to be talking about Chuck a Puck, which is obviously featured around the Sault Ste. Marie district, but also Major Junior that we touch on, and then we're going to have In the Pocket to conclude tonight's show, and Justin Hykel will be joining me that little later. And In the Pocket has been around for 9 years. Chuck a Puck is new, right? But look, hockey has been on this show for the 10 years as well. Our longest running content, but our longest running segment, fun fact, is In the Pocket, and we'll have that to conclude the show. But to open the show, I want to introduce Jordan Trudeau. Okay, this is someone who came on last year with us in January, and we had an idea for some time. We're saying, well, we should get you on the game. What can we do to get you on the game? Who is talking about the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds? Who's talking about major junior hockey? We're talking about pro hockey. Let's give a little love to Sault Ste. Marie as I sit here wearing, again, I'll remind you, the original logo here of Sault Ste. Marie on this sweater, very nice sweater from God's Country that I'm wearing. And again, they're not a sponsor. He's a friend, but I'm giving him love for this sweater because this sweater is sick. But I want to introduce Jordan Trudeau and officially get into our Chuck a Puck segment. Trudes, my friend, a little vacation. We're back. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, Dave. How are you? Yeah, welcome back for sure. Didn't even feel like a vacation almost. Feels like we never left. I love that sweater. I feel like I'm heading up to the canteen of John Rhodes right now, getting a snack after playing a little minor league hockey game. So little blast from the past there.
Love that. I didn't even think of that reference. Oh, the John Rhodes community. Oh my home rink, baby, home rink.
Hey, that's 2 minutes for me too. 2 minutes. Yeah. So it's a home game. It's the weekend. That's a road game, right? About 30 minutes. West End.
I love your sweater too, and obviously here on Chuck a Puck we give a lot of love, and I mentioned the Sioux Greyhounds, but we talk a lot about Major Junior as well and developmental pieces in hockey, and we're going to get to that. I shared something with you today about some interesting news I'm hearing about developmental hockey, okay, and we're going to need another segment for developmental hockey. I feel like another show, but like full time, because we don't have that much time today for that. But we are going to dive into the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, and since we've last talked, which was, if I recall, it was at the beginning of July, was where we had or at the end of June, it was one of those 2 episodes, can't recall top of my head, where we had our last segment episode of Chuck a Puck, whatever you want to call it. So to remind everyone, our segments are within the same episode. So we have Chuck a Puck, In the Pocket, Top Shelf, and Strike Zone are our core four. Oh my God. We have a core four. We have a core four of segments. That's hilarious as I sit here talking about hockey. But definitely going to talk about a little extra Greyhounds here today. But as I told you just now, I'm going to get into some developmental chat that I had that was released by NHL News Updates today. But Druids, I do have one question for you, though, to ask you. We talked on Strike Zone last week with Connor, and I talked about how, and I didn't bug the boys about this for baseball, but we had summer baseball this year. I only played against you once because the other two games that we played, I was off on paternity leave. And then I think one game got canceled. So I only had one game against Swing Away. So I missed 2 games this year, and it was against Midland and Swing Away. Okay. 2 new teams in our league that played. But nonetheless, yours truly finished with the highest average on his team with a 368 average. Okay. Second in RBIs, last in ERA, but we don't have to get into that. A 9 ERA and 6 innings pitched with 1 strikeout. Very good. If we need a pitcher, I'm your guy. Jokes aside, I did get a hit, multiple hits this year, of course, given the average count, but I got my first game, I got a hit off you. And I said to Connor last week that I thanked you for that because I think you purposely gave me a curveball down the middle, and I could have ran for 2, but I don't do that nowadays. And your team is way too good actually to try to run 2 on. But besides that, I want to say thank you again because I did mention that to you prior, but I had to say thanks again. I know you did that on purpose. Connor says no, but I know you gave me a nice juicy one. I think you know, as a friend, that was really nice of you. We were down 9-0, so why not, right? Because that hit, helped me have a higher average than Inch and Guzzo this year. So you know what? I get bragging rights because of what you did for me. So my question is though, did you guys? I didn't see or look at the app. Did you guys win the championship?
We're scheduled to play tomorrow night against.
Oh, so you guys still haven't played?
Still haven't played because Sunday night somebody was too short. I can't remember. So it's been rain, and then either one team is too short out of the 2. Because now it's just back into the fall where everyone's kind of just busier. Well, they're all in school. All the Midland teams, trying to find the time to fit this game in has been tough. But
sorry to everyone. That's baseball men's league content. That's how we're opening this.
It's supposed to go tomorrow night, 8 p.m. at St. Clair Yards. Big men's league baseball final. That's supposed to go. Hopefully, it doesn't rain. Hopefully, we'll see.
And I will say the Pandas were, won back-to-back titles and then lost last year to Flamingos. 2 new teams joined our league this year, and these 2 teams made the finals. They are very strong teams. Love it. Love that they've been added to the league. It's definitely made a bit more parity. Obviously, I've said this out loud. I think the best pitcher in the league. You're very good, but I think Colton Reed needs to be classified as the best pitcher in men's league in Sault Ste. Marie. I know Bryce Gamard might have something to say about that. Maybe Binkley has something to say about that, or some other guys. But geez, Colton Reed is one competitor, and definitely Swing Away Cardinals are the favorites. And there's a former Panda on the Cardinals, Jordan Ritchie, who is an absolute stud. He played 6 games for us, and the guy hit 500 in those 6 games. How do I know? Because yes, I looked at the stats recently, and that's why I'm putting bragging rights on leading the team in average this year. I don't care. Okay, I played no baseball in my life, and I always finish behind Inch, behind Hoff, behind teammates that we know. And I'm talking about guys that don't need to be relevant right now in this conversation, but they are relevant in mine and Trudeau's lives. And love those guys, love this league, and I'm happy that you guys are playing, Trudeau. That's the point. I'm very happy that you guys joined the league. I think it sucks that we're not in the finals the first time in like 5 years, but at the same time, having the amount of teams we did is great. And I'm glad you guys are going to finally play tomorrow. That's going to be one heck of a game. And if you're from Sault Ste. Marie listening to this, if you want to go see some baseball action, I'm not going to lie. Those are 2 good teams. 2 good teams. Okay. Well, what part? Me chirping Inch and Hoff, or me, or just me?
Just go watch the baseball and in Sault Ste. Marie. Don't want to miss this.
Yeah, you don't. I don't care what anyone
says. It was a fun summer. I think we're going to do it again next summer. So
I hope you guys do. You guys were guys are great. And I heard rumors they might do a draft. I told them no, don't get you guys to change. Keep teams the same. But we're here to talk Chuck a Puck. We had our intro. We had a little bit of fun here. We're just getting back from vacation. Let us get into this. I haven't talked to Judes in a bit, but Chuck a Puck, Judes, I know you had some points you wanted to bring up about the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds in particular. There's been some movement. Friend of mine, previous guest on the show when he was the captain of the Lakers, Aiden Wright has joined the staff of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, which is great to see. The Greyhounds looking pretty good this year, and obviously they didn't go for the Memorial Cup bid as well. There's been some news that we can talk about in just a short little time. So I want to give you the floor, though, to talk about Greyhounds before I take the floor to kind of conclude our segment about that developmental piece I was telling about. So take the lead on the Greyhounds front here for Sault Ste. Marie residents.
Yeah, so disappointing. Obviously, there was no Memorial Cup bid. I can't remember when they made that announcement, but I think it was in
A few
August,
weeks back,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it was in August. So I think disappointing for the fan base, but obviously it's understandable given the current economic situation of our city. So I mean, I can understand it. Just knowing a lot of the hoops that would have to be like jumped through in order to make that work. And I mean, especially when you're going up, you know for sure you're going up against Guelph and Kitchener. That's going to be really, really difficult of a bid to win. So no Memorial Cup bid, but you know what? We have to play on. We have to just continue rooting for this team, which is going to be a very interesting team. I think. I think a lot of people, and I've had conversations about this with some fans, particularly my uncle Tijo. He's like a huge Greyhound fan as well, and my cousin. And we think that this team's going to surprise a little bit. There's like a lot of talk that like they're still a young team. They're not quite in a winning contending window yet, but I think they're going to surprise a little bit. There's a bit of a West Division snag right now. We'll see what happens with the Windsor Spitfires because I know they have a lot of their roster that can return. They're old enough. They're still old enough to return, and they were a powerhouse last year. So having that whole roster come back, that would be a very tough opponent. But let's see how much of a step that Travis Hayes, Brady Martin, Chase Reed have taken over the summer. Couple of those names obviously being drafted and are going to attend NHL camps this month. So those are your leaders, and no better of a leadership core there. Even only 18, they've already had significant time and significant growth in the league. And one thing I just want to mention in their two games against Sudbury, I understand it's just preseason, they had 73 shots in total, maybe over. They were definitely over 40 shots in the home game against Sudbury, and they had 33. I just checked 33 on the road. So I think the story of this team is going to be with the pieces they've added, with the pieces they have returning, they're going to be dangerous offensively. They're going to be a dangerous offensive team. It's going to be, can we keep the puck out of our net? Goaltending and defensively, the defensive structure, is that going to be there? Because they're going to score. Can they keep the puck out of their own net?
That was my concern, Trudes, to be honest, was
Yeah.
the goaltending front. And just to kind of revamp around the two grounds for a second, given news and order, Jerry Linscomb does a terrific job with his media release emails and us with the game being a part and covering the Hounds and doing it for the past decade with myself and Scott back in 2016. Now myself and you to this day. Jeff Carter's number 7 is being retired. One of my favorite Greyhounds of all time. Media statement for the Memorial Cup release was actually on August the 11th. So we're looking about a month ago when I was there. There was a trade between the Hounds and the Otters that were exchanged for Jesse Ventrero. You also have the cut down of rosters that Jerry has brought on, and the announced the signings of a few players that I'm going to butcher last names of, 2nd round pick and a 3rd round pick, Wingelhofer and also. Wigglehoover, thank you, and Walski. Yeah. So and you know what? Go ahead and chirp me about naming the names. You can call me Charles Barkley if you want. That's fine. I've been called that on the show one time, so I'll take it. So obviously there's some Czechia background. There's these are some guys that they have drafted. They're excited to get started. Some good international players there. So, or in particular with Jacob, one comment that was brought forward by Raftis was Jacob is a smooth skating defenseman who plays the game with a lot of poise. Even as a younger player, it's a clear understanding of the game, and he approaches every aspect of his play with intensity, rather than delivering the first pass in transition, taking away space in the defensive zone, or carrying an elusive shot from the point. Love that quote from Raftis. Very, very good. And then Tobias is responsible, physical, imposing forward who, once he gets accustomed to the North American game, will be tough to handle in all three zones, which will be very important for the Greyhounds' defensive side of the puck. So you have a Slovakian-born forward, Czechia defensemen, some international players taking their talents over to Canada to play. And
Quinn
those are some.
McKenzie as well. Quinn McKenzie is the American player signed
Yes,
with free agency.
from Cranberry Township, Pennsylvania.
Yes. So he's committed to Penn State, I believe it is. So he's a product of the NCAA. Like he's going to go to the NCAA, but he is coming here to play this year at least. What a sign!
And
Because
he's also part of Shattuck St. Mary's. That is a
yes, he
hell of a
was.
program.
And the Greyhounds needing center depth. He's a centerman, and he was very impressive in training camp. So excited to see what he brings this early season as well. So yeah, the two players you mentioned, Zvolensky definitely noticed when I watched the preseason game in the Sioux. Winkelhofer noticed all training camp. He's exactly what Kyle Raftis said he was. That the defense, we got 9 defensemen there. That's going to be some really healthy competition to see who's going to get some playing time, because at this point it's kind of like somebody's got to go. Who's going to go, right? But there's 9 solid defensemen there. Isaiah Allen, I know Kyle also mentioned Kyle Raftis in the 20 for 20 on the Greyhounds, on the OHL network, 20 for 20 prospect info.
Yeah.
So it tells me that he's and they're pretty high on Isaiah Allen as well. And he's always looked impressive. And we've only really seen him in training camp and preseason, but he's always looked impressive as well. So it's they're gonna have a pretty decent team. Like they got a little bit of depth there. They can really
Very
do.
interesting team.
Yes,
Very interesting team with that
because
dynamic that they're doing.
young,
Yes.
but a
Yes.
lot of skill. You can tell there's a lot of skill out there, a lot of talent.
You're going to start
And they
seeing it,
match
though, more of that youth, right? You're going to start seeing that more because of this
exactly.
NCAA rule, right? That has kicked in, kind of. And I know people don't like that topic. We've talked about it on the show already. I won't dive into it. I've been an advocate that it's going to change the dynamic of the OHL, and we're already starting to see it. I'm sorry, we already are starting to see it with the stars leaving. You're going to start seeing younger, more of the 18, 19, and then people going to the college route earlier. Maybe whatever. We'll see what happens. But the Hounds definitely have a very interesting team put together. But credit to Jerry Linscomb for making sure he's on top of those media releases. It's part of what he does as a role. I understand that, but very, very much is he very much good with his information for us to be able to take on. And obviously, you've been there in person, Trude, so for throughout this time before the season goes. And we're going to be very much involved with a lot of things with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds this year, as we plan to do. And there's going to be a lot of news, but given time, there's one thing I do want to dive into is credit for Jeff Carter for his jersey getting retired. And I never shared this with you, but I got to share it. Joe Thornton had his number recently retired just a few years back. And I don't know if I did share it with you, so cut me off if I did. But obviously here on the game, myself and Justin Hykel were representatives that went to go cover the game there and utilizing our media passes and doing what we had to do, then going to get a snack in the room that we'd love to get food in. And I go out in the hallway and there's Joe Thornton. And I told Justin Hykel, I said, hey, I got to use the bathroom. I got to take a leak. I got to go. So I'm walking towards the bathroom. And as I'm walking towards the bathroom, Joel Thornton cuts through and walks into the bathroom. And there came a decision in my life where I said, either I follow this man into the bathroom or I have to hold in to go to the bathroom. And if anyone knows me, if I got to go, I got to go. So I say, guess what, Hike? I'm going to Hike. Just puts his hand on, right? I open the door. I go into the washroom and I play fool, pretend I don't see him in there. Pretend I don't play it stupid, right? Because you don't want to look like a fanboy. Because I'm also a big Joel Thornton fan. Yeah, I go do my business, and he's doing his business in the other, and I'm just keeping my hands on. And then as he's already at the sink, and when I'm completed, I go over to the sink and I say, "Oh, Joe, I play stupid, right?" And then I play stupid. I didn't follow him in the bathroom, but technically I did. But I start talking to him, and I get into a conversation about his time in the Sioux and how it was, and it went from like a quick hi to being a 5-minute conversation with him, and it was great. Didn't ask him for a picture, not doing that in the bathroom. I working in media, you don't need to do that. We don't ask pictures. I just got to talk to him and I shook his hand. And before we got into the conversation, we shook hands and both our hands were wet. And we said, we know what that is. We washed our hands and we laughed. And it was a great icebreaker. And after 5 minutes or so passed by, poor Hike's waiting out in the lobby for me. He's probably wondering what the heck's going on. But then Joe Thornton's kids come in, probably just to make sure that he's okay, right? Because this guy went in the bathroom after him. But then obviously a great experience. So Jeff Carter, if you end up hearing or seeing this clip, I will not follow you into the bathroom. I won't do it, but I would love to. Obviously, the plan and hope is to connect with him when he's here. But there's a moment with Jeff Carter that I remember. I was a young kid. I can't remember the age exactly. I was under 10 for sure because he's I think got 7 years on me. I can't remember, but around that area. And as a young one, my dad brought me downstairs because I had the ability to meet Jeff Carter. And Jeff Carter said, "Yeah, bring him down. I want to meet him." And I would loved Jeff Carter and Tyler Kennedy, and were my favorite Greyhounds that I can remember as a kid growing up. And Jeff Carter was in the hallway, and I met him. He had his blonde hair, he had a short hair, very quiet guy. He wasn't. I was a very social kid. Surprised. So like I ended up, meeting him, and I have a jersey signed just from Jeff Carter. And there's things that he told me. He mentioned to me that, "Oh, you're a very talkative young guy. That's good. Don't change that. You can have a future in that in sports." So that's something. And look what happened today,
Here
right?
we are.
I didn't make it anywhere in hockey playing. I didn't have Jeff Carter's hockey career by any means, but playing here today. So you know what? These were jersey retirements, bring back some childhood memories. I don't really remember Joe Thornton, obviously, given, I remember, but I was young, right? So seeing Jeff Carter, though, very much deserved. I'm got to give credit here by point of this whole 5-6 minute story. And I know we're supposed to be crunched on time, but I got to give credit to the ownership of the Hounds, Lukenda and the crew, for acknowledging the history of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds and acknowledging players that should be represented. And this leads to my next question. You have names up in the rafters. The next name that has to go up there has to be Tyler Kennedy. You have to think the next name that has to go up there in those rafters is Tyler Kennedy. There's probably other names that we can think of. Colin Miller down the road. 100% Colin Miller. Maybe Darnell Nurse. I think that would be a good one to add. I would love to see Kajewski up there. I just loved Juice when he was the goalie, but I don't think we're going to see Kajewski up there. But Tyler Kennedy for sure, Trues. I don't know if there's anyone else that you can think of that I'm missing, perhaps, that would make sense to add. I know Jordan Smith had a little bit of time. Dylan King was a guy that's been around a little bit, but he just played here. I'm not saying he just played there, obviously played there. Yeah. So I think there's some names, but you have to think Tyler Kennedy has to be the next person to go up in those rafters for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. My two-parter here in this whole long-winded story is a little bit of your feedback about Jeff Carter, and if you think Tyler Kennedy or who should be the next person in the rafters.
I think you mentioned them. Those would be the names right there. If somebody else knows, then definitely let us know. But yeah, I would say Tyler Kennedy. And then, yeah, I kind of, my mind went to Colin Miller as well, or Darnell Nurse as well. So maybe missing somebody. And if we are, sorry, but no, for sure.
On the spot. We're just talking about this on the spot.
No preparation. But I think, it just goes to show you what an outstanding organization this is. Great hockey town.
Yes.
And I know it's Saturday night. I know November 22nd really well because it's my wife's birthday. So kind of have to know that day when you're married. And so it's Saturday night, and I guess the London Knights, that place is going to be this, going to be packed, and it's going to be bumping. So
and Trude's won't be there, buddy. Perfect
night. It's a perfect night for a Jeff Carter jersey retirement. And I know, I think he was definitely a huge player for the Greyhounds. Well, NHL drafted, so popular, right? I think I wore my first Greyhounds jersey was number 7. and it had Trudeau on the back.
Mine.
For Jeff Carter, but I think that my mom has a picture of me with him somewhere. So yeah, these guys, they play for fun, and I know the Greyhounds. Props to the Greyhounds as well. Another shout out. I know we're going over time, but I don't know if you saw, Dave, all of the season ticket holder events that they're hosting early on in September. They actually had a VIP card night where last night at the Grand Gardens, all the players were set up at tables, and you went and picked up your VIP card if you were a season ticket holder, and they gave you like a schedule, a gift, and a license plate cover. So like really, really cool. See the coaches and the players there handing out the season ticket holder stuff, and then they're having a season ticket holder barbecue on Sunday before the preseason game. So like huge props to the organization again for that. But one of the players had said, and his name is Harris Pangretich. I've heard a couple different pronunciations, but I believe it's Pangretich. We'll get it fixed. We'll get it fixed if it's not. But he said to my mom specifically, he said, we're here having fun. And even though these guys are here having fun, they do have an impact on the community, on the kids in this community, and it's great to see them being brought up as positive role models in such a small, tight-knit community.
And you know what, Trudes? It's okay that we're a little bit overtime. Here's why: because we don't have a strike zone segment tonight. So Connor has he's given charity for us to take his time, and we don't have a top shelf segment either. So that's why we have two segments to fit in within this hour. So we are good for a little bit of the time. But to transition to the next topic, before we do so, sorry, any final thoughts you want to mention about the Greyhounds? I know we're going to get into more content as the year goes on, and obviously you and I, as I sit here with I'm just going to pop this up for some thing to show you, something that we can wear while we're on site there. These are portable microphones and stuff that are brand new in box that I will not open until we are there for that remote access and plans that we look to do more with the Sioux Greyhounds and just Major Junior in general. That's definitely the whole point of this segment. So any final points you want to mention before I get to our last couple minute point that I want to discuss?
No, I like where they're at right now. I think going into last season, there were so many question marks. Going into this season, there's question marks, but the other way, right? They're the opposite question marks. So
we'll see how the goaltending is. I think with Miller's, this is a Miller season. This needs to be his make or break season to show that he can be ready. And maybe we'll get Kyle Kajewski or we'll get the Jack Campbell. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll see. He's your starter off the bat, of course, right? 19-year-old drafted goaltender. He's your starter. You got to go with him to start. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it goes from there. And that's
not gonna lie, that Jack Campbell trade's one of the worst in Greyhound history. Don't know if you agree, but it's up there. Sorry, Kyle Dubas. I know some people might be too out of it. Love that. Maybe we'll table that for next week. Let's table that for next week. All right. The next thing I want to get into, and it's from an OHL perspective, but from a developmental perspective. Look, on this podcast, we've talked Sault Ste. Marie based, and there's been some news individuals and that have shared what they're going to be talking about. I'm not going to mention their name just because I don't have approval to do so, but I've gotten a lot of feedback from people that were involved in being a part of the rep and background system of our developmental youth for hockey here in Sault Ste. Marie. I'm a 91 birth year, and I'm not going to lie. We had a AAA team. Our AA team was just as good as our AAA team. My AA team featured myself, Brett Finley, Michael Doan. We all know where Brett Finley played, like just to name a couple guys. And we tore it up, won the All Ontarios in our division, and it was
younger.
Yeah, so like we wasn't even a competition when we went to the NOHAs and these tournaments. We cleaned up. Okay, and that year we cleaned up. Donnie Gagne, the late Donnie Gagne, former Sioux Greyhound, actually. Fun that just kind of add very legendary team that I recall, of course. But we had the reason why I bring that up is because throughout my years, there's a lot of good players that I end up playing with and against. Tavares and Stamkos being ones at tournaments that I end up playing against. And here in Sault Ste. Marie, Brett Thompson was somebody who was on the forefront. And Brett Thompson is obviously someone who's a former Greyhound, 50-goal scorer in the OHL. And a lot of other players, Mickey Sotoretto played on Saginaw. There's a lot of talent that came out of the Sioux. And I share that because our development and hockey enrollment, there used to be a waiting list to get into the Pee Wee from SRHA. I don't know if you remember that, if you remember SRHA. And I bring this up because it's vital for this point that there's so many different options nowadays for developmental opportunities. And this is another topic for another day at this point, but Sault Ste. Marie has went down in terms of developmental in hockey from a certain perspective. It hasn't went down, but there's definitely been a different perspective. And a big reason why is because the world, we'll call it, or Ontario is caught up to what we do. That's how I like to look at it. They caught up, but the Sioux was on the forefront. We used to beat teams, and I say we from a house league or a rep or AA, AAA, whatever perspective, beat up teams 15-0. Okay. All right. And the OHL announced today, and you could check this out on the chl.ca, variety of media outlets. The OHL has started a developmental league, and it's called the GOJHL, the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League. And it's something that's going to begin in the 2025-2026 season. Okay. And, it's quote right from the website. It's becoming the first official development league of the OHL. It's 23 teams. Southern Ontario-based circuit has contributed to development has contributed development of countless eventual OHL players throughout the years, providing tremendous opportunity on players seeking to maximize their potential. So it is purely development for players. So the GOJHL becomes the first official development league of the OHL. Conversations remain ongoing towards future collaboration with other junior leagues in Ontario, CHL, NOJHL, and SIJHL. I'm an alumnus of the NOJHL, started and retired there. I did have a brief stint in the SIJHL for a team trying to make a run. Didn't happen. And the NOJHL, that is the whole point. Those are where draft picks and players go down to play. Like I remember Peter Anthopoulos. There's a couple guys that have went down to play the Sioux Thunderbirds when I was there. And these are, like, you can mention a lot of people that have done a development destination. They talk about actually Joe Thornton. They talk about Jeff Carter. They talk about these guys that we've talked about on the show here today. And Trude's, I think this is a tremendous idea. And development, how it was before, I said people caught up to Sault Ste. Marie. Sue maybe not being the same. Sure, that wasn't the point of my discussion, but that everyone's caught up. But the opportunities and developments has been, sure, a little bit of opportunities where we're located, but in Ontario and in the world today, there's a lot more opportunities for development. And I think doing the GOJHL is a very effective piece to develop players for the OHL. But there's another side to that, retaining that talent to stay in Ontario. Maybe looking at a loyalty factor, maybe looking at a exposure factor to try to maybe potentially limit the look to going to NCAA. I will say that maybe that's just a piece, but I think they should have had developmental leagues a long time ago. And that was the true intent of the NOJHL and all that. That's what it was supposed to be, but it never happened that way. But now it seems that the focus is going to be there for these leagues to look to try to get to the next step.
Yeah, so your last point, that's what I kind of take it as, to be honest, as they're going to work closely with the GOJHL and they're working on the other leagues in Ontario in order to provide the more exposure to the OHL. So they want to kind of bridge that gap a little better so that it sounds like, and if viewers they don't want to hear about this, like you mentioned or whatever, that's the first thing that popped into my mind was, oh, this is a way to try and keep players from going to the NCAA too early.
100%.
Too early. And that's the key piece, right? We don't not want them to go to the NCAA. We want them to play in the OHL first, right? That I think that's what the pathway is wanted. But in order to retain more talent, doing this type of thing is huge. But it's just modeling the NHL system as well, right? Like they're gonna have a showcase for GOJHL players at the OHL Top Prospects game, which Travis Hayes and Brady that was what Travis Hayes, Brady Martin played in last year. So they're gonna, yeah. So they're gonna just kind of follow the same model as the NHL with the CHL, right? So it's all just a stepping stone, and that's all part of getting players ready for the next step as well, right? always looking to develop a player to get to the next level of hockey, which is the main goal of the CHL as well. And the most recent, I think, success story of the NOJHL, Andrew Gibson, was one that name that popped into my head when you were talking about it, right? Like, he played a year for the Sioux Thunderbirds. Now he's on pace to make the NHL, in my opinion.
Nashville. Yeah.
So, and he was the one that started. He's a very good example of one that started in the NOJHL. And if you're ever looking for a good hockey story, just look up. I saw it on TikTok the other day. Just look up Andrew Gibson skates hockey story. It should come up. He was on a podcast. I think I saw it a week ago, and he talks about an interesting story about him forgetting his skates going on an NOJHL road trip, which, Dave, you would know that some of those cities, if you can
Oh
call
no.
them, are a little bit different than maybe players that play in the NOJHL from down south and other places are a little bit different looking than such. Not a knock on Andrew Gibson, but just the predicament of forgetting your seats and going 5 hours north to a town is pretty interesting. I won't spoil it
And
because
you're stuck. Like, I'll tell you, from a guy who's traveled to Kapuskasing, to New Liskard,
exactly.
Abitibi,
Yep,
played at the Igloo in Abitibi. Okay,
there you go.
one of the best junior rinks ever played at, to be honest with
Right,
you. With the
right.
blinking eyes that they had in Abitibi, oh my god! Like, thanks for that
But
flashback.
it's such a cool call out to those towns, those northern towns that us Suites are used to going up there.
You know what was one of the more hostile environments I've been to? And I got to share this because I know JHL. Temiskaming.
Oh yeah,
And you
I
know
can.
what? I got a funny story to tell you, but we don't have time to do it now. But I would love to reminisce about my past because everyone knows I love doing that sometimes. Brings back memories and when I was probably 70 pounds lighter, and in more in shape. But it's something to ask me if you remember next week because I think we got a table, a couple developments, and Jack Campbell trade. We got a few things to talk about next week. But you know, at given time, we'll leave it there. I gotta. My point is, I want to give a hand. I like this. I wish there was more focus on this. Not just because of no, this has nothing to do with me. It's during my time, sure, somewhat after, but before. You know, it's too bad that, all this stuff comes up now, but I'm happy it comes out now because now I'm happy other people get the opportunity. And I think players like that were around in my generation, shortly before, helped shape what is important to have in hockey and opportunity. You spend so much money to play hockey as parents. You want to know that there's opportunity for your son, daughter to get exposed to the world of hockey, and this gives you another branch to look down, especially in Ontario. And I would presume that the WHL and the Q are going to probably follow suit to something like this, especially if success measures from this, right? So very good to see that. Worth a check out to read that article on chl.ca. Great work all around. Now, Trudes, my friend, Chuck-a-Puck. We talked towns. It's been 35 minutes. We predicted about 20, 25. We're at 35. But like I said, you know what? Hike and I are going to keep this within the hour for all the listeners and viewers that get to enjoy us an hour a week. And I want to say, I'm happy to be back, happy to talk Chuck-a-Puck, pumped to talk Chuck-a-Puck. And you know what? Going forward, we have to follow time constraints because we have timed logins now by everybody. So you know what? That's why me and you, and then me, Par, and Brendan, we're going first because our segments tend to go a little longer. We're in the pocket tends to be on point. But I love being back and talking about this with you in general. So I want to say thank you for taking the time, my friend, and pumped to be back.
Yeah, as always, go Greyhounds, right? So
Yeah.
excited for the
Yeah.
season. And yeah, pumped to be back too.
And pumped, like I said, to do content. If you
Live.
see us, if you're from Sault Ste. Marie and you see Trudeau and I, don't hesitate to stop. I know that you've talked to Trudeau and me about us. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. We like to talk. We know that. All right, Trude. So thank you, my friend. Now, before I bring Justin on, I want to just remind everybody that this has been Chuck a Puck. We're going to be diving into In the Pocket, and he is waiting in the wings. I don't know what I'm talking about right now, but it doesn't matter. He's ready to talk a little bit of football, so we're going to be getting into In the Pocket. And you know what? I am always excited to discuss football as this individual is. As I mentioned, he was waiting in the wings or the winds. I can't remember what I said. Hopefully I said wings because it would make the most sense. But the one, the only Justin Hykel. It is In the Pocket time, representing his Colts hat. I have nothing Steelers, but I'm representing Sault Ste. Marie. I talked about the shirt a few times on the show. Dave Holmberg, you can send me a check if you feel like it, pal, if you're listening in. A little God's country action. But nonetheless, it's definitely was a good week in the world of football if you're a Steeler fan, Colts fan, but overall football fan. And you know what? We ain't kidding with you. We ain't spitting on you, if you will. Definitely an interesting week in the first week of football. There's spitting. There's Aaron Rodgers throwing 4 touchdowns. The Dolphins hitting sim through to next season on Madden 26. Already, the Buffalo Bills-Ravens game was, I can't. And I meant that in like a chef's kiss way, just so I can confirm to everybody there. Like, what a week.
I mean, even the Minnesota game Monday night was like a Kirkland brand version of the Bills game Sunday night. So if you stuck around to the fourth quarter, it was pretty good.
J.J. McCarthy is undefeated in 2,071 days in a regular season total dating back to college. The kid's having a hot start to the NFL, and it might stop by next week. But
yeah, like the quote I saw today was something along the lines from him was, "It's what is it? It's better to be a gardener in a war than a warrior in a garden," or something like that. I was like, or other, reverse, not the warrior in the garden, not a gardener in a war kind of thing. But it was like he was talking. It was like the context of hyping up his teammates, and it's like that's the shit you're pulling out already. You're like 15 years old. That's pretty impressive.
Guy wins a national championship with Michigan, comes into Minnesota with absolute swagger right now, and he's it was a good first. And Caleb Williams, though, I got to give credit. Caleb Williams looked very good. He looked very good in that game. Like, I think the kid's going to be something special for the Bears.
Yeah, I think there's still some growing pains to be had there with the new head coach, offensive coordinator, system, whatever you want to label it as. But I mean, like, the raw talent is there, and I think he was let off the chains a little more Monday night than we saw last season. He was allowed to. You saw some of the Caleb Williams you saw when he was at USC. And it was kind of nice to see that that's in there. And, maybe the Bears do have a quarterback. It's not all doom and gloom.
And you know what? Honestly, the first week, and we'll talk just a couple little points there before we transition to just getting right into week 2. And obviously with our thumbnail today, which, credit to my wife, Hannah, for being in charge of the thumbnail action with Jalen Carter being on the thumbnail this week, and also Josh Allen, both of which deserving for complete different reasons. So, Josh Allen made you money and proved why he's an MVP, and Jalen Carter spending money and likely costed you some money on the defensive side of the football in the first week if you're into betting on FanDuel or wherever you are. But again, it was here on In the Pocket, which I should remind you is sponsored by Sports Center Bar and Grill, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. 9 years in the pocket, 9 years partners with Sports Center. Unbelievable. But Hike, that I want to transition right into that spit,
The old Hawk Tua.
What's going? I was actually going to name this episode.
Yeah, I don't.
I didn't.
But well, yeah. I mean, probably overused title this week. Someone beat us to it. I really don't know. I think that's just like stupidity. That's not even like a player in the moment. He says that Dak spit at him first, and I mean, you can see in the video Dak spitting probably at the ground. I don't know. It's tough. It's a rivalry game, so you want to believe, I wasn't, Dak said I wasn't spitting at him. I was just spitting on the ground, and Carter, I think he spit on him, and he just spit back, and it got caught on TV, and that is what it is. But there's, for every one of those that you see and gets blown out of proportion like this, there's probably 15 in every game that don't get, you don't get shown on TV or don't get seen or don't get this hype train attached to it. It is what it is. It's football. It's sports. It happens. Hockey, you're allowed to pound the piss out of each other and go to the penalty box. Think about what you did.
And lick.
Like football, you get yards and you feel shame.
And what happens in those dog piles, Hike? You know what I mean? Like what happens in those? You don't think something with like maybe a little ditty twister in there, like a little arm twist or a little.
There's a lot going on in there. Like it's no, how do you think the running back feels when he's got like 4 linemen behind him pushing 8 defensive players that was just don't step on my toes. You know what I mean? Like that's a crummy one too. Stuff happens. It's the way sports.
I never played football. You did. And I think you were an O man, right? You played O line or
O line, D line.
You were all over, right?
Just
and you had
living on the line.
You had Smith as a coach, right? Okay. Yeah, so, you had some good teams there, Marys, but besides that...
There was no Hawk Tuaing going on there.
He was maybe the Hawk Tua when he was yelling at you guys from the sidelines.
Yeah, that's...
And I mean that with respect. Jordan, I know Jordan very well, obviously. His dad's a legend when it comes to the football world here in Sault Ste. Marie. But, the playing the O-line, D-line, 2 different roles, but you've played both roles. Yeah, high school, not football, but they're different aspects. O-line, you're covering for your QB, you're covering for your running back to get that ball through. And a D-line, you're just looking to eat up somebody. You're looking to tackle, block, and if you're JJ Watt, you're looking to have a sack lunch on that QB. And you know what? Honestly, a lot more happens than probably what we realize in all levels of football. And I'm not saying that what he did wasn't right. He got caught, and it wasn't.
He just got caught.
Yeah, that's the point. He got caught. And now I'm not saying that you should do it and not get caught, but look, I'm just saying my point is that things happen that are worse than that. Let me tell you, for sure, most likely. And I'm not taking that from experience, just assumption and just based on what you're saying, Hike, too.
If it wasn't a Cowboys-Eagles game, would we all care this much?
If it
wasn't
Carolina?
Thursday night in prime time, if it's a Sunday afternoon game, when there's, not as many eyes on it, it's not the first game of the season. Does anyone care? No. This is the storyline. No one wants to talk that, maybe Dallas might kind of be good. Not one person this week has talked about that. They've only been talking about the spitting incident. The Eagles got away with a win, but the Cowboys also looked pretty okay. I'm not one to compliment the Cowboys, but...
No.
So, I mean,
I got credit now for Jerry. I give credit to Jerry Jones. I'm not saying I'm a Jerry Jones guy, but ever since that Netflix documentary, this guy is a business genius. I told you that. I think I have respect for Jerry Jones and what he's done with the Cowboys, but I don't care. But
business genius, gambler, whatever you want to call it. That's
gambler.
I'm 2 episodes in, so I haven't seen the whole thing yet, but he's a wild man.
Stuff. He's unbelievable. So the other thing, a couple storylines with the first week was Aaron Rodgers got 4 TDs. Justin Fields, I don't know where that was when he was playing for Pittsburgh. Obviously, a little bit of motivation.
It was like a Freaky Friday setup there.
Wild. And Jabril Peppers now joining the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tyreek Hill was rumored to go to Pittsburgh, and I say was. We don't like talking too much scandals on this show, except if you listen to our Strike Zone show, we always talk baseball scandals. But when it comes to football, we definitely tiptoe around that a little bit more. But obviously, you're innocent until proven guilty, and obviously there's some acquisitions with domestic going on there with Tyreek, and I'll keep it at that. That's what it is, and that will definitely nullify any trades or rumors that are currently going on with Tyreek Hill. But that's little update on that note. And Hike, Josh Allen,
he's a person.
So there's 3 different points.
Tyreek's a personality guy. I mean, personality loosely. I don't, you know what I mean? He's a wide receiver, a bit of a drama queen, bit of a shit magnet, if you will. So, I mean, how many divorces does he have? How many child support? Like, the guy's just a bit of a wild man. So, I mean, it is what it is. You live that lifestyle, you're bound to come by these stories.
Steelers love those type of receivers.
Yeah, I mean, if all this goes away, and it might, because sometimes money makes these things disappear quickly. He might be a Pittsburgh Steeler. He might be back on the Chiefs. You don't know. I mean, like, the Tyreek trade thing is a very interesting sub-story that no one's really talking about right now because they don't want to,
And I know Patrick Mahomes might say, excuse me, I got an interruption to say here, Dave, to that. If you heard me say it, maybe Lamar Jackson says it, and that who's my early MVP take, but or second MVP take. I think Josh Allen is my MVP, has been from the start, but is Josh Allen the best quarterback in the NFL right now?
He's definitely the best offensive player.
All of it. Runs, throws, all of it.
I don't know. If you're talking pure quarterback play, there's probably a few things to be desired there still. But from a pure guy and a clutch moment standpoint, I would want him 10 out of 10 times.
I would love a
he's not afraid in those moments, and even when they go sideways, he wears it. So
yeah, and you know what? Honestly, he's the second person when it comes to talking about celebrity couples with Haley Steinfeld, because obviously you got Travis and Taylor leading the way. But I would love to see Bills, Lions, Super Bowl. That is what everybody needs to see.
The Lions pick isn't looking too great after week 1, but it's a long season. We got a lot of season.
Green Bay. Oh my God. Green Bay. Okay. Yep. Respect. Micah Parsons. Looking like he fit in real nice.
The Packers had more to losing that game than they had to gain by winning that game. You couldn't not come out and have a balls to the wall defensive performance in that game after the Micah Parsons thing and all the flack that you've been getting after the Micah Parsons thing. You had to come out, quiet that narrative, and move along. You don't need to carry that through the entire season, especially in Green Bay. Small town, news cycle only focuses around the Packers. Hard to get away from that. Quiet the haters, move along. A big win against, it comes at the expense of the Lions. We are very pro-Lions on this show. But and the Lions were allowed to have a lose there. New coordinators, new systems, figuring things out. You're allowed that loss. Figure it out. Come back this week. Start winning.
Yep.
Now you can go 16-1.
You can't lose. You can't lose in a lot of games in that division because you got, obviously the Packers. You got them, the Vikings. You got a good division, and you can't get behind in that division. And losing to Green Bay is tough. Losing to a division rival is. Yes, what am I talking about? Yes, division rival is tough, right? That's hard to come back from sometimes. You play what? And I don't know top of my head. I think you play like 8 or 9 games against your division in a season, right? I think it's 8 or 9 or something like that, give or take.
You play each team twice, so you're looking at 6 games.
6 games, there are 6 games. So it's that those are critical games, and you want to try to at least be 75% in those games. I think those are realistic goals if you want to be a playoff team. And then outside of the playoff picture, you want to make sure that you have a winning percentage of over 75% as well. So you want to, that's a realistic goal for a team. But a team like the Lions with this promise going in this team, they should be a team that should not lose more than 2 games this season, maybe 3. That's how good this roster is. But again, tough division, and Green Bay showed that we're hot, we're exciting to watch, and we're going to mean business this year. They're going to push them to the brink this year. Now, I won't dive into too much of the Steelers and Colts just because of the sake of time. But the Rodgers throwing 4 touchdowns, I didn't have that on my docket. But I ain't complaining as a Steeler fan, and I honestly didn't have the Colts destroying the Dolphins. You ever know that Simpsons thing with who's the guy, Ralph, I believe, where he's like, "Stop it, he's dead." You know what I mean? That was that. The Dolphins just didn't exist. Yeah,
it was. The Dolphins came out very flat. I don't think that it's going to be like that the rest of the season for them. I think if the coaching can turn that, they're not a terrible team. They just the Colts had, again, this is one of those things where emotion comes into it. When you're playing a game, you're putting the owner of the team who just passed away up into the rafters. There's a lot going on there. You haven't won an opening game in 10 years. So, there's just a lot. There's a lot of story there. What did the Dolphins have to do? No one cares.
Since the show started, the Colts never won on workers.
So, and I picked them to win in week 1 every year anyways. On that
might have
note,
hurt
maybe we'll segue into the pick'em.
Let's do that. The pick'em. What a hot start by the four fellas. Now I should remind everyone here on In the Pocket. I know you've seen just myself and Justin for the last year because EJ stepped away last year briefly, and Tyler hasn't been on for a year as well. But both of them are expected to have more common occurrences this year. So, right now, for the first couple weeks, you're getting Justin and I until EJ gets his schedule shit together before he comes back on, and Tyler gets his stuff together. But we have 4 members picking games this year on the pick'em, so that's very exciting. So, Hike, you can name off the standings results, and then you get right into your picks. I'll go into mine before we conclude.
All right. So week 1, we're going to start off first place. Hike's picks, the original. There, 14 wins, 2 losses, week 1. Second place, we have the David Decision with 12 points, going 12-4. Third place, we've got Broken Wheel, also known as EJ Russell, with 11 points. And Tyler rounded it out with 10 wins this week. So everybody's still like great picks.
Yeah.
No real bad picks last week, but some better than others.
One little fun fact before you get into your picks.
Mention any teams.
Before you get into your picks, I did FanDuel. I do some betting more so now, and I picked 12 games. Okay, and I didn't go with my picks. The game that I got incorrect, and I chose one of those games on FanDuel that I didn't choose on here. The game that I got incorrect was the Carolina Panthers game, and that lost me out on $1,000. So I just want to say, screw you to Carolina. I put a very small amount bet in because obviously we do parlays that big. The payouts are pretty good, but the Carolina Panthers decided to have a different agenda and screw over me getting a couple $1,000. So I just want to say that, screw you, Carolina. Don't sleep well tonight. And I mean the Panthers team, not the city, or Carolina, the city's fine, the team. But get into your picks, Ike.
Yeah, I mean, I did like a 10 picker on the weekend, and I lost on the over on the Colts game. So such is life. Yes. My picks this week: Thursday nighter, taking Green Bay over the Commies. Good Thursday night game, to be honest, in Green Bay. Cincinnati, Jacksonville, I'm taking the Bengals. Dallas and the Giants, going with the Cowboys. Detroit over Chicago. Rams over Tennessee. New England over the Dolphins. San Fran over New Orleans. Buffalo over the Jets. Pittsburgh over Seattle. Baltimore over Cleveland. Colts over Denver. Arizona over Carolina. Philly over KC. Atlanta over Minnesota. Tampa Bay over Houston, and the Chargers over Vegas on the doubleheader Monday night. Tiebreakers, what do we got here? Chargers 28, Vegas 18, Tampa 34, Houston 14. Most points this week, Buffalo. Fewest points this week, Houston.
We always seem to have similar picks, and that's why I think the standings are close, because you know what? Because we know our shit. I'll just say that. I've had like 5 swears this episode, but it's okay because we're an hour in. I'm allowed to do that. So picks this week, I got the Packers, I got the Bengals, I got the Cowboys, I got the Lions, I got the Rams, the Patriots, poor Dolphins, 49ers, the Bills in an absolute destruction, the Steelers, Ravens, Broncos, sorry, Hike, Cardinals. I'm definitely not picking the Panthers. Don't sleep well tonight, as I mentioned a few moments ago. The Chiefs, the Vikings, the Buccaneers, and the Chargers. And I'm going to take Chargers 28, Raiders 21. We were close in that, Hike. And then for the Buccaneers, I got them having 27-20 over the Texans. For the most points this week, I got the Buffalo Bills. They're going to get 40 this week. Telling you right now, sorry, New York Jets going to be a tough one. And the least points this week, the New Orleans Saints. I don't think New Orleans is going to do anything exciting this year, along with the Carolina Panthers. So those are the picks for the David's decision, and we'll see who's right. 12-4 Dave from week 1, or 14-2 Hike's picks.
See, the Colts pick is the key one. You have no faith.
I know.
No faith.
Something about Bo Nix. That must be that Oregon feel that I have with Bo Nix, with Oregon. And speaking of college football, that went off on a hot start too, but we won't get into that. We don't have time today, but we talk more college football here. I love it. But again, Bo Nix, Oregon Ducks legend, I think is going to be a good game against Indianapolis, but he's stepping up this week.
It's in the 4:00 time slot. That's all I care about.
That's
I only
such a
get
good
like
time.
one of those a year, so
Let me ask you a very annoying question. Is Taylor Swift at the game this week?
I don't care. But that being said, if she's actually a football fan, you'd probably want to go to the Super Bowl rematch game. I mean, that's
She's
the game
gonna
you
be
were supposed to get proposed to at, and your boyfriend got fed.
fed.
Is what it is.
And Jason and Kylie and the crew will be there. Maybe Jason will take his shirt off in Kansas City this time because he's an absolute riot when he gets going.
Maybe Travis can wave to the stands and injure another one of his receivers on his team.
Xavier Worthy, how we feeling, fantasy owners? My goodness, I miss playing fantasy. Actually, I haven't played it in a few years. I haven't decided to, but I kind of wish I did this year. But I feel like I would have picked Xavier Worthy because I think he's really sick, and I'm glad I didn't play this year because of that reason.
Five teams. 5 teams.
You have him on 5 teams.
Yeah.
Oh, I you know what? I don't even know the full extent of the injury. It's like he's on IR. I know that.
It's a dislocated shoulder, so they didn't put him on IR because he'd have to be out for 4 weeks. Probably not back this week, maybe next week, kind of thing.
2-3
Just
weeks.
a shitty hit.
Such a shitty
hit. Kelsey's a big dude. That's all.
Yeah, and he just
truck sticked him.
Yeah, he did even the hit stick. So, Hike, my friend, we're going to get to the conclusion here for In the Pocket. Any final thoughts before we get to our conclusion for both In the Pocket and the show, I should say?
This week, to be honest. I mean, I'm happy we got a win, so I don't really have much to bitch about.
You know what? That's a positive, and I think this week is going to be just as exciting. Already week 2 in the National Football League, and this is the second segment of In the Pocket for 2025-2026 season, and still waiting for the Taylor Swift announcement for the Super Bowl. Made a bet on that too, that she's gonna get it. I decided to throw some money down on that. Why not? Just sounded like a fun bet to do. Nonetheless, Hike, my friends, it's always a pleasure. And you know what? We'll say it. Internet has been a bitch these last couple days for us, trying to get our recording all set up, but it worked out. So I appreciate you taking the time as always, dude.
Hey, no problem. Good to be here. Good to be chatting football.
Yeah, it's good to be back, and pretty soon hockey. Yeah, more hockey coming very soon. And speaking of that, I want to say thank you to Jordan Trudeau as well. First Chuck-a-Puck of this new season and in our 10th year of the game. And this is In the Pocket, again, sponsored by Sports Center Bar and Grill. And the Game Sports Podcast is powered by 91 Network, featured on Spaces. We're on social media. We're on all podcast platforms at The Game Sports Podcast. Just give us a search and give us an interaction. You will see us there. Now, nonetheless, Hike, again, thank you very much. And thank you to all the listeners and viewers who tune into the game. And again, don't hesitate to hit like, follow, and subscribe. And we will be back next week getting into more hockey and football, and baseball will be on our agenda next week again, as the Blue Jays are into their playoff run in a tight race in the AL East. So there's hot topics that Connor and I will get to. And then obviously, as I mentioned, Trudes is expected to come back on for some more Chuck-a-Puck. We'll have some Justin Hykel and I, and hopefully EJ and Tyler can join for that episode for the first time in over a year. Be very exciting to have a full core 4 of the too soon core 4 for this show segment, but we also have a core 4 for sports. There's a lot of core 4 going on with the game. We're continuing the core 4 trend here. But again, thanks to Hike. Thank you to everybody. Getting to the sign off. I'm here to remind you to keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch your touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.